Yes. Okay. So for this small introduction about Boyum IT and Produmex. So Boyum IT was founded in Denmark in 1997 and was headquartered is headquartered in Denmark. The company has subsidiaries and sales offices around the world and has been a certified SAP partner since 2004. Okay. Now the company currently employs more than 140 international employees and is 100% focused on SAP Business One. Now, Produmex was founded in Belgium in 2004 and has been a SAP Business One partner since 2006. And Produmex brings to market certified logistic add-on solutions for SAP Business One. Produmex was acquired by Boyum IT in April 2018, and our solution portfolio is now an integral part of the Boyum IT solution portfolio. Now, if we look at the Produmex WMS overview, what you see here is that Produmex WMS is a modular system consisting of a number of components. Now we have a core functionality that contains all the overall warehouse management functions, but we have a number of extensions to this solution that make it fit for specific application areas. And one of the application areas that we're going to discuss today is the application area of third-party logistics. So if we look at the agenda for today's webinar, I first would like to explain to you what third-party logistics is. And then I would like to show you how we have set this up in Produmex WMS for SAP Business One. This means that we have to do a number of configurations with respect to business partner master data, item master data, the organizational structure of the solution, and also then the actual third-party logistic invoicing. Okay, so if we look at the definition of third-party logistics, third-party logistics implies the outsourcing of all or much of a company's logistics operations to a specialized company. Services that are provided by third-party logistic companies include transportation, warehousing, cross-docking, inventory management, packaging, and freight forwarding. It is important to note that a third-party logistic company is only a service provider, meaning that the stock that it manages is not its own stock. So it manages stock on behalf of another company, and it is rewarded for those services based on the invoicing of these services to the customer. Now, if we look at the setup or the third-party logistic business model, this consists of a number of participants. On the one hand, we have in the middle here our logistics services provider. That is the company that provides the services to a client for whom it delivers the logistics services. So here at the top, you have got this third-party logistic client, so that is serviced by the logistics service provider, and that client has in fact two faces. The client is on the one hand a vendor that delivers goods to the logistics service provider, which are managed by the logistics service provider, and on the other hand, he's also a customer of the logistics service provider to whom the logistics service provider sends an invoice for the services he delivers. Now, if we look at how this process works, then what we have first is that the third-party logistic client delivers goods to his logistics service provider. And this can be done based on a purchase order or an advance shipping notification. Based on this interaction, the goods are either delivered by the third-party logistic client to the logistics service provider, or they are picked up by the logistics service provider. On the other hand, we have then the customers of the 3PL client. So these are the end customers that buy the goods that come from the third-party logistic client. And so they do not issue purchase orders to the client, but they issue the purchase orders to the logistics service provider, because he is managing the stock on behalf of the 3PL client. So what a logistics service provider will do, he will accept the purchase orders, and he will then do the picking and the delivery, and also the invoicing of those goods to the end customers. Based on that, the end customers will pay the logistics service provider for the goods they have received. And what happens next is that then the logistics service provider will pass on this payment to the customer, but at the same time, he will also issue an invoice to the 3PL client for the services that he, as a logistics service provider, has delivered to them. And finally, we have the payment of the services by the 3PL client to the logistics services provider. So this is, in a brief overview, the 3PL business model. If we look at the way now that we have set this up in Produmex WMS for SAP Business One, we first have to define a specific business partner setup. As you are aware, SAP Business One only knows the idea of vendors and customers. And so in this way, what we have to do is that if we have a 3PL client, we have to define two roles for that 3PL clients towards the third-party logistics service provider. On the one hand, the 3PL client is a supplier of the products which is the third-party logistics service provider manages on behalf of him. This means the 3PL service provider does goods receipt, storage, picking, packing, and shipping of these goods. Secondly, the 3PL client is, on the other hand, also a customer to which the third-party logistics service provider sends the invoice for the logistics services he will provide to the customer, to the client. So this means that we have to establish a link between, on the one hand, the 3PL vendor, the supplier, and the 3PL customer. And this can be done by defining a link between the 3PL client as a vendor and the 3PL client as a customer through the option linked business partner. So if we look at that, how this is done in SAP Business One, what we see here is that we have created a 3PL client consisting of two companies. On the one hand, we have the client as a supplier. So here it is the client Stone Traders Supply. And we have linked this through the linked business partner field in Produmex to the same client, but in his capacity as a customer. So Stone Traders Supply is a 3PL client that will deliver the goods to us, and Stone Traders Invoice is the customer that we will send the invoice to for the services that we deliver to him. Next, we also have to establish a link between the end customers of the 3PL client and the 3PL client as a vendor. This means that we also have to create a link between the end customers and the 3PL client as a vendor. If we look at that, how we do that in SAP Business One, you see here that we have again our supplier, Stone Traders Supply, and we have then a number of end customers where we say, okay, our end customer home deco or interior decoration, they are linked to this stone trader suppliers as the suppliers of the goods that they will process. Next, we will also have to do a number of things at the level of item master data setup. We first have to define which items are processed on behalf of the 3PL company. We will also have to make sure that these items that we process on behalf of the 3PL client are stored in the appropriate zones. We have to define the price that we charge to the customer for inbound and outbound operations. And we have also to define our item master data for a number of operations that we execute on behalf of the 3PL client. These are inbound and outbound operations, storage and the price for storage, and when the system will then check the value of the services, it will take into account these parameters. Also, in the organizational structure of Produmex WMS from SAP Business One, we will have to make a number of specific settings. On the one hand, we will have to define the zones in which the products of the 3PL vendor and customer can be stored. And we have to define a number of invoicing parameters on which will be checked to determine the cost of the services that we provide as a logistics service provider to our 3PL client. We will also have to define storage locations types and assign these to storage price items. It is evident that the larger the storage location, the higher the price of it will be. And also whether it will be in a special storage zone, like for instance a freezer zone or a refrigerator zone, that will also influence the price. And then we also have to define location types to storage locations in the warehouse so that we will be able to charge for that. And then the 3PL invoicing will take all these parameters in consideration to determine the value of the services that we have delivered to our 3PL clients. So let's now go into the system to show you how this works in practice. So what we have here now is, on the one hand, we have our SAP Business One application with the Produmex administrative module in it, and we have here our RF terminal. So let's first have a look again at the business partner setup. So if we look at the business partner that we have here, we look at our vendors, and we have here our vendors Stone Traders Supply. And as you see in the field Produmex, this is linked to a particular customer. So if we look for that customer, you will see that we have here also a customer Stone Traders invoice, and this customer is linked to the supplier. So we will execute operations on behalf of the supplier, and we will invoice them to his company, the same company, but in this case set up as a customer. So the same applies with the customers that we will deliver goods to. So here we also have, for instance, our home deco company, where we have defined that this home deco company will receive goods from our Stone Trade supplier. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is that in inventory we also will have to specify which are the products that we will deal with the for this 3PL company. So if we look at it, we have here, for instance, a product which is called EcoWood Natural Oak. So this is a type of stone. So if we look at the Produmex tab, and we go here into the sales tab or the 3PL tab. Just a moment, the general tab. Where have we got it? Yeah, the purchasing data. There you see that we always purchase this product from this preferred vendor. So this is a product that we purchase from Stone Trader Supply. And we can have that for several products. So here we have another product, Natural Marble, also a type of stone. There it's also linked to the same preferred vendor. Okay? And the next product also linked to that preferred vendor, which means that if we process this product in our warehouse, we will make a charge for the process of this product to our 3PL client. But in order to be able to link this to our 3PL client, we have to create here this link. Okay? If we look at this product further, what we will see here is that we will also define where this product can be stored. We have defined for this product that it will need to be stored in an ambient temperature zone, but on top of that, it will need to be stored in our third-party logistics zone. And even furthermore, in our third-party logistics zone, we will have a special zone that is reserved for our 3PL client. So you see here, we have also a Stone Trader zone. Furthermore, if we look at the item master data, we can also specify an inbound and an outbound price for this product, which means that each time we will do a inbound operation of this product, we will charge a service fee of $1 for inbound operations and of $2 for outbound operations. So this is already a parameter that will be used by the system to calculate the value of the invoice. So these are the products that we will treat on behalf of our third-party logistics client. Now we also have defined a number of specific item master data that we will use to calculate the value of our services. So what you see here is that we have here a number of specific items that we have created that we will use to calculate the value of the service that we deliver. We have here an item which is called item inbound doc, item inbound line, and item inbound quantity. And we also have the same for the outbound, so outbound doc, outbound line, and outbound quantity. This means that for each purchase order, from this 3PL client, for each purchase order, we will charge him one item inbound document. Depending on the number of lines that there are in the purchase document, we will also charge a fee for the number of lines that there are in the purchasing document, and we will also charge a fee for the quantity of products. The same happens on the outbound logistics side. There also, we will have a charge for each sales order that we process for the 3PL client. We will also have a charge for each sales order line and also for the quantity of products in the sales order. Another aspect that we will charge for is the storage. Here we have defined a number of items that relate to the storage conditions of a product. So we have here, if we open this, we have here an item that is called item storage for a pallet in the ambient zone. And there we say, okay, if we store an item on a pallet space in our warehouse, we will make a charge of $4 per day of storage for that product on that location. We can also have one for storage in a chilled area, And there we say, okay, if we store an item on a pallet place in the chilled area, there the charge will be higher. It will be $6 per day. And if we come to a pallet space in the freezer area, there we say the cost is even more. There we will charge $10 per day of storage of that product. The same applies to a shelf. So if we have not a pallet space, but only a shelf space that we occupy, we will charge $2 on a daily basis to our customer for that. If it is, again, in the chilled environment, the cost will be higher. And if it is in the freezer environment, we will charge an additional fee for the conditioned storage in that area. So this is what we have done on the item master data to be able to make a charge for the services that we deliver for the treatment of these products. Now, if we turn to the organizational structure in Produmex, so we have here our organizational structure, where also we have defined here, just let me make this a bit bigger. Okay, so we have here our 3PL picking zone. And if we look at that 3PL picking zone, we see that we have defined that the zone types for this zone are ambient and 3PL. But if we click it further down, we see that within the 3PL zone, we can specify a specific zone for, in this case, our Stone Traders 3PL client. And if we click on that, you will see that this zone has not just the characteristic ambient and 3PL, but it has on top of that also the zone type that is related to the specific 3PL client. This means that if we want to store products in that zone, the system will only allow that we can put it in a zone that has this zone type associated with it. So if we look further also at the 3PL invoicing tab, there we can also check what aspects we will charge on. So I have defined already the item master data, and here I say I will actually count all the inbound documents, all the inbound lines, all the inbound items, and also the outbound documents, outbound lines, and outbound item quantities. Okay. So another aspect that is important is also the storage types. For this process, we also have defined a default form in which we have defined here the various location types. So let me see where they are here. So here we have the location types, namely we have a pallet space in the ambient zone, we have a pallet space in the chilled zone, we have a pallet space in the freezer zone, we have a shelf space in the ambient zone, shelf in the chilled area, and shelf in the freezer area. And what we can do with these is that we can assign them to the location. So if we look at this location, for instance, this has no location type associated with it. But here we say, okay, this location is of the type shelf ambient. So I could define here what type of location this is, and this will be used by the system to calculate the actual price for the storage times the number of days that the product has stayed at that location. Here also we have shelf ambient spaces, okay, and also if we look at the backup location, there we can specify what location type these locations have, or we can assign them to that. Okay. Okay, and then here, yes, and so you see here, we can assign for each location in the warehouse, we can define what type of location it is, and there is a price associated with it. So this is the setup that we have done. So if we now do an inbound logistics operation, so let me create a purchase order where we are going to purchase this from our Stone Trader supply, so our 3PL client as a supplier. So I select my product here. So suppose that we say we are going to purchase 1 pallet of this product. So we add the purchase order. And the moment that we have added the purchase order, we can go onto our terminal to receive it. So again, if you look at purchase reception, we receive it on our receiving dock based on an order. So here is our order. We do not receive identical logistic units. There is no label on the unit. We use no carrier, and we select the product. We specify the batch number, and we specify the quantity. So what the system now does, it books the goods receipt, and it generates an SECC label for me. Okay? So we have received the goods, and so the goods receipt is booked in SAP Business One. And we also know that this is at my receiving dock 1. Okay? Now the system will now create a put away order, but for that put away order, it is also important to show you that it will limit the place where I can put this product. So if I look at these locations here, you see that I have been reserved for my Stone Traders for the Stone Traders zone, as well as if we go to the 3PL picking zone, there also it will be reserved to these locations. So if I want to put away this product now in my warehouse, I select my receiving dock and I select my logistic unit. Okay. So the system will now show me the default location. So the default location for this product is P005. But I can also ask the system to select the location. And what the system will do now, it will only show me locations that are eligible for this product. So if we look at the backup locations here, it will show here location B001 till B0010, which are actually the locations in my Stone Traders put away zone. So only these 10 locations are available for put away of this product. The same applies to if I would like to put it away in the picking zone, then it would also reserve only the locations up to number 40 here. So it would only reserve these locations for it. It will exclude the locations that are not of the correct zone type. So in this case, if I say, okay, select a location, I can put it at this location and the items are put away in the correct zone that answers the zone type for the customer in question. Okay? So now, when we do the same for a sales order, so let's now create a sales order where we now use as a customer one of the linked business partners. So we have our customer Home Deco, which is linked to my Stone Traders supply company. And what I can do then there is I can now say I'm going to pick 1 carton of this product for this particular customer. So I enter the sales order. I now create a pick list proposal And from the pick list proposal, I generate a pick list. Okay, and based on this pick list, I will now do the picking. So if I now go to sales picking, I have here my pick list, and the system will direct me to the correct location, and it will reserve the specific batch that I have to pick for this assignment. So I select it. I'm not going to through the pick and pack process, so I'm just going to do no movable location. I'm not going to use a logistic carrier because I'm picking a carton. And I go now to the location. I select it. I select the product and the batch. And I say that I'm going to pick one carton of it. The items are picked. And the system now tells me that I need to move it to my shipping dock. And it prints here the shipping label for the goods that I've picked. Okay. So if I proceed now with the shipping process, so let's get back. I now go to shipping. From my shipping dock 1, based on a pick list. And this is the SACC that I'm going to ship for my customer. And it's adding the sales delivery notes in SAP Business One, as you know. So it prints here the delivery document, and at the same time, it has booked the delivery in SAP Business One. So we have now performed an inbound operation for and outbound operations and storage operations for our customer. Now, in the background, the system has kept track of all these operations and will be using them to create now the 3PL invoices, which we as a third-party logistics service provider will send to our third-party logistics client. So if we now go to 3PL within Produmex, we have here now the possibility to generate the 3PL invoices. So what we can do now here is we can specify the period that we want to invoice. So here we say, okay, we want to do it on a monthly basis, and we want to do it for the month of October. And then the system will check all the 3PL clients that we have within our warehouse. And it will tell me, well, we have indeed 2 customers for whom we deliver third-party logistics services. Namely, on the one hand, we have our Stone Traders invoice, so the customer that I have done operations for. But we also have another customer, namely Pharma invoice, which is also linked to a supplier and which we deliver products to, for instance, pharmacies. So let's now generate the invoices and have a look at it. So I'm creating them in add mode. I can create them in draft mode, or I can create them straight away. So let's see in add mode. Yes. And now the system will go and fetch all the information about the operations that we have executed for these customers in particular. So if you now look at what we have on this invoice here, you see that for the month of October, we have processed 7 inbound documents for this customer. We have these 7 inbound documents, so 7 purchase orders contain 9 order lines. It was also always for 1 product. And the same is we have performed or executed 4 sales orders with a total of 12 lines and for an inbound quantity of 1 product. Here we have then the number of days, storage days, that we have had for this customer during the whole period. So 124 units at $4 per day. And also in the shelf ambient, we have had 93 days at $2 a day. The same if we look now So that's in our pharma invoice. There you see that we have also storage of pallets in the freezer, which is more expensive, and also shelf in the freezer on which we store products. So this is the way that Produmex WMS supports the 3PL operations, so third-party logistics operations for 3PL clients. I hope this has been an informative session for you, and I would like to close it now, and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, and you will be able to download the webinar recording soon from our website. Thank you, and bye-bye.